Hello, my name is Edward Garlick. During the last video posted on the Support Our Wallingford Volunteer First Responder Facebook page, I mentioned that I wanted to try to unpack or explain a little more what the Firefighter 1 or Recruit Volunteer Fire Training Program was in the 1992 to 2012 model. So the program itself, hour-wise, from the 2014 class, the last class that was taught by all volunteers, was right around 296 hours of instruction, which is classroom and practical applications, fireground applications and training, which were taught on the training grounds behind 75 Masonic Avenue at Central Fire Headquarters. I went into some depth of what that training ground is comprised of and the assets that are there in the last video. The class itself was historically taught in the 92 to 2012 model by career instructors on overtime and augmented by volunteer instructors. So we came up with some numbers in a proposal that we gave to the Chief of Department in 2019, November 2019, based off of the 2014 class taught by all volunteers and some approximations that we made off of career member pay or career staff pay. As I mentioned in the last video, information from classes taught in the 92 to 2012 model is not there. They can't find it at headquarters, so we really don't have something to base new information off from that. So we worked a little bit off of the 2014 model with numbers, but we had to kind of estimate on overtime expense. So in overtime approximations, we came up with $50 per hour for a career instructor per hour, and we went with 296 hours. So that would be one career instructor for the 296 hours of instruction. That may or may not be very accurate because we're going to be augmenting with volunteer instructors, and there will be times in that 296 hours of instructor where it may only be one or two or three volunteer instructors without a career instructor. So that cost may wash out a little bit. It may even out at 14.8. It may be a good number. It may come in under. We're not sure. We haven't had the support to be able to put heads together to figure that out. If it even needs to be figured out, why wouldn't we be able to just go forward with this? We're not sure. But that was a number we came in for overtime expenses in our proposal in November 2019 to the Chief of Department. $14,800 in overtime expense. Textbooks for the class are around $150 each. They'd be purchased from probably the Connecticut State Fire Academy bookstore. We estimated in 2019 in our proposal to the Chief of Department 15 books, but I think 20 is more of a realistic number, which is good because those books would be carried over between subsequent classes. It wouldn't be an every single year expense or an every time the class was run expense. So $150 at $20 each for $3,000. Town of Wallingford's tax exempt, so I don't think taxes would need to be added in, but I'm not sure on that. So $3,000 expense. The final exam, the state certification exam at the end of the class, you need to have proctors from the Fire Academy come down to proctor the exam and make sure that the certifications are done. During the 2014 class, it was around 15 proctors, I believe, that were brought in for the all-volunteer run class. The proctors at that time, I believe the estimates were $30 per hour, or the rate was $30 per hour. I think that's what we put in the 2019 proposal to Chief of Department November 2019 for 8 hours. So 15 members at $30 per hour at 8 hours, we came up with $3,600. All that added together came to $20,650. That was in our proposal. That was our approximation. That was given to Chief of Department November 2019, discussed. Coming out of the meeting in 2019, the Chief gave us a tasking to identify volunteer instructors, lead volunteer instructor and volunteer instructors to teach, and the Chief was going to identify career instructors and a lead career instructor. To the best of my knowledge, that never happened. The Chief said that money would be obligated to try to get the money through in the budget. We do know that an additional $30,000 was put through. I didn't know before, but I've learned this in the training budget for the town of Wallingford, but we have heard nothing about a Fire 1 program being approved. So, and during the last meeting we had with all the chiefs, it was said career instructors were approaching, they want to teach because it had gotten out that we had made this proposal again, but nothing came to fruition. So no recruit class again off of our request in 2019. The reasons for denial, historically and up to date now, the original reason for denial for the class or stopping the class in 2012 was the fire department budget could no longer support the training. We don't know where that came from. Did that come from the town council? Was a budget submittal made and it came back that no, we can't do this anymore? Has it been explained where the volunteer service is sustainability wise? Has it been rejected? We don't know the answers to that. We don't have visibility on that. Like I said in the previous video, there's no advocacy for the volunteers out there right now, so we don't know what's being said and what the sentiment is regarding training or recruiting or providing any additional resources for sustainability to volunteers. So we're not sure on that. Return on investment by the volunteer firefighters in town does not support funding. That was always kind of a funny statement to me, and it kind of struck a nerve back then, and it's still it's a continuing reason even up until today. The return on investment just isn't there. The estimation coming out of Chief of Department's office is 2 to 3 years of service per volunteer on average. Obviously, there are some people who are going to leave after a year of service. There are folks like myself who stayed for 27 years, folks like the current chief of East Wallingford, the station chief at East Wallingford Volunteers, who has more than 40 years of service. During the 2014 class, we put through 20 new firefighters that were certified and put out into service in the 12 new volunteer firefighters from the 16 that were that entered in. 12 passed. Those members went out, and obviously some left through attrition. They attritioned over time. In 2019, there were 3 members left from that class. In 2020, there's now 1. But those members contributed more than 6,000 hours of continuous training. I'm not sure how many calls they went on. I don't have visibility on that data. I'm not sure how many hours of service they contributed in standbys or activities. Again, I don't have visibility on that data, but I do know that those members to date, including the 1 member that's still there, have contributed 38 years of service. So I'm not sure where the washout is on return on investment for volunteers to the town. I would think a more logical approach would be, what's the return on investment from the town to the volunteer? What support are we giving you to be able to maintain sustainability, keep your morale up, keep recruiting, keep furthering your mission from the town to the volunteer? Where's that return on investment? So that's not spoken about often, and that's not what we expect to hear as volunteers. All we want is, as volunteers, the support we need to continue pushing forward and furthering the mission, which I don't believe is there, evident by the lack of advocacy that I've noted in the community, and the sustainability issues that we have right now, which just aren't being addressed. So another reason town Wallingford run training hurts the state regional fire schools. We're not giving the regional fire schools the bodies anyway. The only reason we were able to get the number of people we were getting in the 92 to 2012 model was because we were going out recruiting to a specific class. We were able to go out and say, have you ever wanted to volunteer? Do you want to give back to your community? Have you ever wanted to become a part of a team, a uniformed division within the Wallingford Fire Department could offer you that. If that's something you want, come with us and we'll give you a background check, we'll give you a physical, we'll get you good to go and put you into a class. And it was pointed towards January to July, a certification class, and that's how we got, that was a recruitment tool that we had. It was a tool in the toolbox, which was taken away in 2012. So there are no bodies to push to the regional fire school. I believe from 2016 to 2019, I had around 30 applications come into East Wallingford that we went through. Very few of those made it through because there was nothing to offer. To ask an 18-year-old in high school or a father with a job, or a mother or a father with a job, to come in and do a class twice a week from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. in full 8-hour days on Saturdays, to drive to Fairfield on your own dime to do that, and when you're done, or to take an EMT class for $1,200 and drive wherever that EMT class might be in the state, when you're done, come back, and then we'll give you a background check that we don't know you're going to pass, or we'll give you a physical that we don't know you're going to pass. It may be for nothing. That's the new model, July 2020 moving forward, for recruiting new volunteers. We're not giving bodies to state fire schools. So that's kind of a moot point in my mind, but it's a point that's been made to us, that in-town Wallingford training hurts the regional fire schools. I'm not sure how that washes out, but that's a reason from the chief of department that we were given. Town administrative bodies will not approve the funding. Again, we don't have visibility on that. We don't know, because there's not a lot of advocacy out there. There's not talking or communicating going on is that denial of funds actually happening at an administrative body level with the council or with the mayor? Are they looking at the fire department budget and saying, what's this $30,000 for recruit volunteer fire training? Is this needed? Do we need volunteers? We don't know if that's happening. So again, that's a point that's been made that we're unsure of where it comes from. Career fire department members will not agree to teach the class. That was a reason given in November. Moving into asking us to go out and give taskings, that the career members will try to identify people to teach the class and a lead instructor, but they don't want to do it. They've come to us and said they don't want to do it. I've spoken to a good number of career staff who have followed up with me and asked, hey, when's this going to happen? Because we want to teach. So we're not sure where that's coming from, where the information's coming from, and that the career members don't want to teach. So that would have to be researched a little bit more. I'm not sure where that comes from. Fire department doesn't have the PPE or SCBA to do the class. They would have to rent it, incurring an exceedingly more money, a higher expense to the $20,650 that we kind of came up with an approximation and an estimate with. I don't know that to be true, and I think the brain power at the fire department within the ranks should be able to put their heads together to figure this one out. I do know spare apparatus and spare gear and spare air packs do exist in the fire department. There are spare fire engines with SCBA on them that are sitting, that aren't being used. When a truck goes out of service for a mechanical reason or is going for service, there are spare apparatus there to be used. The SCBA that are on the in-service piece that was checked at the beginning of the shift, that's good to go with the member that's assigned to the seat that the SCBA is in, is good to go. There's no reason why, if you're switching into a spare truck, you can't take that air pack from your apparatus with you. Especially if the truck that is going out for service is going out of town. You don't want to send a fire truck with SCBA and valuable equipment on it to a contractor that may be in another town or another state. So there's no reason why you can't take that spare SCBA off the in-service truck, put it on the spare truck. All the SCBA and equipment on that spare truck, SCBA, not all the equipment, but the SCBA on that spare truck is available for use. It can be used in a Fire One program. There's several spare engines, a spare ladder truck, 2 ambulances that are no longer paramedic level service ambulances that have firefighters on them. The new model for responding to incidents with EMT only ambulances took firefighters off the ambulances. So the SCBA that was on those ambulances as equipment are no longer needed there. So they're 2 ambulances, that's 4 SCBA. Rescue 3, the paramedic fly car that was in service with Wallingford for so many years, has been taken out of service in the new response model. So there's no more firefighter paramedic fly car in Rescue 3. It's gone. There's 2 SCBA on that vehicle. So those SCBA can come off. So I think if we put our heads together within the fire department, within the community, within town administration, we could come up with the SCBA needed. They're there, they exist. PPE, I do know there are more than a dozen sets of spare gear that are within the 10-year lifespan range of firefighter personal protective equipment at headquarters in a gear room. And there are spare sets of gear floating around out in the community in the firehouses as well. So whether or not we'd be able to put our heads together and figure that one out as well, or we would have to go out and actually find a company to rent PPE from, that would obviously add to the $20,650, but I don't believe it would be, if there's a class of 20 new recruits, 20 sets of gear that we would need to go out and rent. I believe there is gear in the system in Wallingford and Wallingford Fire that would be able to be provided to new recruits. So that in itself, I'm not sure is a great deterrent or a derogatory thing to put forward to not run a Fire One class. I think that can all be worked out in the end. So hopefully this is good information and is well received and is compelling, maybe to get people thinking about why we can't do this, why is it being denied, why can't we move forward with some type of version of the 92 to 2012 model, if not every year, maybe every other year. The last proposal I asked for was 3 years of the In-Town Firefighter One program to see if it's going to make a positive impact. Make that investment in the volunteers and in the fire department to see, can we get back to where we were in the 92 to 2012 model, or is Edward Garlick wrong in his assessment that we can get back there? The only real way to find out is to go ahead and do it. So That was another rationale that I used in one of the last meetings where we requested the Firefighter One program, and it was ultimately denied. I believe that was 2018 that I suggested that to the chief of the department and the chiefs in his office. So hopefully this was informative. Hopefully folks get a little bit out of this. Hopefully it will help to build advocacy for the volunteers and get people thinking and asking questions. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. You can message the Support Our Wallingford Volunteer First Responder Facebook page. You can post to it, or you can send a direct message to it, and I will get back to you right away. Thank you very much for your time and for listening. Take care.